Él trabaja con los temas de principalmente biocombustibles líquidos. Su primera área de investigación y desarrollo es en conversión de biomasa lignocelulósica, tanto en desarrollo de tecnología, integración y en escalamiento. Tiene más de 25 años de experiencia en trabajando en plataformas bioquímicas y de azúcar para la conversión de biomasa y la integración de los pasos de procesamiento, que son pretratamiento, hidrólisis enzimática, fermentación. Pues él está en el NRL, pero también dirige el TASC 39 de la Agencia Internacional de Energía, y nos va a hablar pues del panorama que él ve desde su posición en estas dos instancias, tanto el estado actual como los retos que tenemos enfrente para las cuestiones de bioenergía, de combustibles sólidos, biocombustibles líquidos y bioresponsabilidad. And James, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, for being here. It was a long trip, I know you're retired, and we welcome you here. So,
thank you very much, Dr. Rivera. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mi hablo no español. It will be English. That was the extent of my fluency. So let's see if I can make this work and keep you entertained and awake after your nice lunch. So today I will give you, before I start to talk on bioenergy specifics, I want to just introduce NREL a little bit to those of you who are familiar with it. NREL standing for the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and also introduce the IEA Bioenergy Technology Collaboration Program, which I participated in as a co-lead of the TASC 39, as Julio mentioned. And then I'll talk about the bioenergy landscape. My specialty is in the area of lignocellulosic biochemical deconstruction and upgrading to primarily alcohols by biological means, biochemical engineer by training. But I'm here today to talk about bioenergy more broadly. So I'll be giving a sort of an overview of the worldwide bioenergy activities and the technologies that are coming forward. Their readiness levels, and talk about sustainability. I know there's some sessions and activities on life cycle analysis. I'll talk about that. It's a very important area that needs ongoing development before sort of wrapping up with where are we today, the outlook, and some final thoughts. So starting with the introduction to NREL and bioenergy. So NREL, located in Colorado, about the same elevation as we are here, but a much drier climate. Colorado is a Spanish word, I believe, for red, so a lot of red soil. But it's located in the middle of the United States, geographically. It's considered sort of the far eastern edge of the western United States. They're right near Denver, the greater Denver area. And it turns out Denver is a sister city, or a twin city, with Cuernavaca. So that's kind of nice. I found that out on Wikipedia. Along with Minneapolis and New York also, and one city in Japan. So we're one of 12 Department of Energy national laboratories. We are the ones focused on renewable energy and energy efficiency technologies, and lead laboratories in those areas. This is a picture, sort of a helicopter view of our main campus in Golden, Colorado, just to the west of Denver. We're close to 2,000 employees when we have research participants from academia also on campus, like we do during the summers. A number of very interesting buildings and facilities for investigating renewable energy. Not just bioenergy, but a lot of photovoltaics, a lot of wind. We have a wind site campus about 20 kilometers to the north, just south of Boulder. And we estimate that our national impact is approaching $1 billion a year.
Él trabaja con los temas de principalmente biocombustibles líquidos. Su primera área de su investigación investigación y desarrollo es en conversión de biomasa lignocelulósica, tanto en desarrollo de tecnología, en integración y en escalamiento. Tiene más de 25 años de experiencia en trabajando en plataformas bioquímicas y de azúcar para la conversión de biomasa y la integración de los pasos de procesamiento, que son pretratamiento, hidrólisis enzimática, fermentación. Pues él está en el NRL, pero también dirige el TAS 39 de la Agencia Internacional de Energía, y nos va a hablar pues del panorama que él ve desde su posición en estas dos instancias, tanto el estado actual como los retos que tenemos enfrente para las cuestiones de bioenergía, de combustibles sólidos, de combustibles líquidos y biorefinería. And James, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, for being here. It was a long trip, I know you're retired, and we welcome you here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rivera. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mi hablo no español. It will be English. That was the extent of my fluency. So let's see if I can make this work and keep you entertained and awake after your nice lunch. So today I will give you, before I start to talk on bioenergy specifics, I want to just introduce NREL a little bit to those of you who are familiar with it. NREL standing for the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and also introduce the IEA Bioenergy Technology Collaboration Program, which I participated in as the co-lead of the Task 39, as you were mentioned. And then I'll talk about the bioenergy landscape. My specialty is in the area of lignocellulosic biochemical deconstruction and upgrading to primarily alcohols by biological means, biochemical engineer by training. But I'm here today to talk about bioenergy more broadly. So I'll be giving a sort of an overview of the worldwide bioenergy activities and the technologies that are coming forward. Their readiness levels, and talk about sustainability. I know there's some sessions and activities on life cycle analysis. I'll talk about that. It's a very important area that needs ongoing development before sort of wrapping up with where are we today, the outlook, and some final thoughts. So starting with the introduction to NREL and IEA Bioenergy. So NREL, located in Colorado, about the same elevation as we are here, but a much drier climate. Colorado is a Spanish word, I believe, for red, so there's a lot of red soil. But it's located in the middle of the United States, geographically. It's considered sort of the far eastern edge of the western United States. They're right near Denver, the greater Denver area. And it turns out Denver is a sister city, or a twin city, with Cuernavaca. So that's kind of nice. I found that out on Wikipedia. Along with Minneapolis and New York also, and one city in Japan. So we're one of 12 Department of Energy national laboratories. We are the ones focused on renewable energy and energy efficiency technologies. We lead laboratories for those areas. This is a picture, sort of a helicopter view of our main campus in Golden, Colorado, just to the west of Denver. We're close to 2,000 employees when we have research participants from academia also on campus like we do during the summers. A number of very interesting buildings and facilities for investigating renewable energy. Not just bioenergy, but a lot of photovoltaics, a lot of wind. We have a wind site campus about 20 kilometers to the north, just south of Boulder. And we estimate that our national impact is approaching $1 billion a year. Leveraging the activities going on in these respective countries that participate. So it's not a research activity per se, it's more of a synthesis and a sharing and knowledge exchange framework. So across all of the 10 tasks and about 6 joint and sort of inter-task activities, collectively involving over 200 people, the total budget is $1.8 million a year. So that's relatively modest for that number of people. So we're really leveraging significant activities in the participating countries. So that's just introducing you, hopefully, lots of information on the web. If you look up IE Bioenergy, I encourage that. So now I'm going to get into bioenergy itself and why bioenergy. I think that's first of all to be clear about what's so important about bioenergy. Well, it's the most flexible and diverse sort of energy technology, renewable energy technology. So we have wind, we have solar, but they really don't have the breadth of things they can deliver that bioenergy does. So if we use, and by bioenergy, we're also talking about the use of waste. Those most often are biogenic waste, carbonaceous waste, but they need not be, they could be fossil derived. So there's companies, for example, using fuel off gases or combustion gases as resources, and those sources for the combustion may not actually be bio, but it could be considered a bioenergy technology if bio is being used to convert it. But they can meet multiple objectives, as the slide shows, reducing dependence, of course, on our diminishing non-renewable fossil supplies, which are having an environmental cost on our planet. But more importantly, getting into the efficiency, really using domestic resources, so not having to import and go further and further to find our energy sources, but actually looking regionally at flexibility. I think the most important and biggest area besides their environmental benefits, of course, when you grow biomass, you're fixing carbon from the atmosphere, carbon dioxide. So generally, bioenergy pathways, if they're done well, if they're done in an efficient manner, can greatly reduce carbon emissions. But the biggest area, I think, and of interest to Mexico and the United States as well, is the rural economic development of a variety of different products. We've already talked about biodiesel and ethanol. Those are the largest biofuels in the world today by leaps and bounds. Renewable diesel is starting, it's more fungible. It can be used in cold climates. It doesn't have any blending limits, any issues like that, no instability that you have when you have oxygen in a fuel like you do with ethanol or biodiesel. There are issues in that regard. So you see actually increasing amounts of renewable diesel competing for the same feedstock as the biodiesel, the so-called SANE, the fatty acid methyl type diesel. But we also have new alcohols like cellulosic ethanol. It's the same molecule but derived from cellulosic sources. Other potentially advanced biofuels like companies like Amyris looking at making farnesene and other things. We can make lots of things with the economic for fuels. That's the question. But wood chips and pellets, solid fuels, pyrolysis oils as a liquid intermediate, biosynthetic gases or synthesis gas, carbon monoxide and hydrogen-rich gases that can be upgraded catalytically or by fermentation, as well as parts of municipal waste, like the refuse-derived fuels and anaerobic digester gas, which is methane and CO. And you can upgrade, you can remove the CO and inject that into pipelines, and then be complementing the fossil natural gas grid. I think that's actually a really big opportunity that's coming online in North America, and something that Mexico would be interested in. And then in use, of course, biofuels for transport. That's the area I've worked in most of my career, but also electricity, heat, cogeneration of power and heat, as well as materials and products, which are higher value than energy products. So energy is challenging. It's the biggest, but it's the lowest margin. So that's why we're doing lots of research in this area, trying to get the economics to work. So here's a SWOT analysis, or a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats sort of analysis on bioenergy. And I'll just walk around a little bit. I'm kind of a moving person, so hope that's okay. The flexibility I've talked about, but I'll re-emphasize that we can make power, we can make heat, and we can make fuel, and we can make a variety of different types of fuel, solid, liquid, and gaseous. No other renewable energy technologies have that. With respect to power, we can really make things either in a base load way, where we're supplying continuous power, or intermittently, or we can go go to things like liquid fuels or solid fuels, where we can store the energy for a long time. So this can complement the other renewable energies that we're seeing develop, particularly solar and wind, which are intermittent in their nature. They cannot be based on yet anyway. We don't have satellites to harvest sun continuously and bring it to us. They're domestically available. And what I would also emphasize, I don't know how many of you have followed the agronomic literature, but there's reports that we're mining our topsoils. Our ability to grow food as well as other bioenergy crops, we require good, healthy soil. And those soils are getting ever more precious. Each year we remove some of that topsoil. And there's estimates that we only have 60 more cycles, and we're going to run out of our topsoil. Well, getting serious about bioenergy provides, among other means, one of the ways that we could be rebuilding that carbon in the soil and improving the health. Now, there's economic challenges, but this is where bioenergy is strong, not necessarily economics, but its ability to deliver solutions across this whole space. Sort of acronyms stand for bioenergy, carbon capture, and sequestration, or bioenergy, carbon capture, and utilization. And that's another aspect of bioenergy. For example, if you have fermentation ethanol, you're producing a very concentrated CO2 off-gas stream. If you're going to do carbon capture, you need concentrated CO2. If you're trying to capture it from flue gases where you're using air as the oxidant, it's a dilute material. That's expensive to do. If you're just trying to get it from the air itself, again, very, very dilute CO2. So large-scale fermentation has this synergy where you can be making a concentrated material that we could be, in some way immobilizing, either making more energy, putting it into furniture or buildings or concrete or whatever, or burying it underground and drawing down the carbon in the atmosphere. This is something that is becoming increasingly focused on. Looking at opportunities, I've talked about growing the bioeconomy, creating new jobs, creating new manufacturing platforms, say based on pyrolysis oils, based on synthesis gases, based on sugars, for example. Reducing waste burdens and disposal costs. When we right now, we're paying to get rid of a lot of our waste. Well, in a circular economy sort of thinking, those are feedstocks that we're just not utilizing. And rather than having to pay a lot to go out and select a feedstock, why not use existing waste that people are paying to get rid of, where we can actually, maybe we get paid less, but we can actually get paid to take the feedstock. Now this becomes a much better value proposition for having an economic process. And towards the end, I have a couple examples of this happening. But we're doing a SWOT, so we have weaknesses too. Constrained feedstock supply. Biomass is diverse, but it's pretty thinly distributed compared to a coal seam, an oil well, and so forth. So, there's infrastructure and difficulty in the logistics of bringing biomass to a central location where it can be processed. Associated with that is challenging economics, especially in the recently relatively low fossil fuel prices. In 2014, the price of oil went from over $100 to under $50 a barrel in U.S. dollars. And that did a lot of damage to biofuel development that was really going at a clip at that time. With biofuel processes, of which I'm most familiar, you have large capital costs. It's a pretty complicated process compared to using vegetable oil or grain sugar, starch-derived sugars. As I already said, difficult to achieve those economies of scale because of the because it's hard to collect in one place as much biomass as we're used to processing with fossil fuels. And then it's complex. We're touching on agricultural, forestry, perhaps the energy area, and environmental domains, waste domains. So it's complicated, and that makes policy and political acceptance difficult. It's hard to communicate the technology because it is complicated. As a result, there's a lot of policy uncertainty. It's a hot topic. If we can get bioenergy right and it actually outcompetes fossil fuels, are we going to look back and no, we're going to move forward and get off fossil fuels. The fossil fuel industry realizes that, and they have their vested interests, and so there's a lot of politics. There's a lot of foes of bioenergy, and you can read every day about how bad bioenergy is for various reasons, how inefficient, what a bad idea it is. People like myself, my personal opinion is it's part of the solution, a big part, and we need to recognize that and figure out a way to do it. Threats, great. It's seeing great cost reductions, so a lot of the investment, renewable energy investment is flowing that way. There's concerns about land use changes and are we competing with food if we grow bioenergy? I would argue we can do both. I would argue the population needs to be part of this discussion. We cannot just keep breeding like rats and expect the planet to take care of us. I mean, we're using more than a planet's worth of resources in about 6 months now. So that's not sustainable. We need to be thinking seriously about the long term. What about our children and our children's children? I do not have children, and I recognized this 30 years ago, and that's one of the reasons I don't. It's like, what are we doing, Are we making it better or worse? So the other issue is with this climate change underway, we are perturbing the hydrological cycle. We are perturbing significant issues, and this is the basis on which we have food, agriculture, forestry, the whole bit. So there's a threat to the viability of things going forward. Where is it going to stabilize again? The weather patterns that we're used to, are we going to have those to grow our crops? And we have our grain belt of the United States. Brazil has their Cerrado, and Brazil and Argentina. These are areas that historically have had certain patterns upon which all this agriculture and production has been based. If we perturb that, will they continue to increase or be able to do that? With biofuels, we have the electrification of transport. With power, we have alternative renewable energies like wind and solar. These are all threats in terms of the public eye and where the investment's going, what might be simpler approaches. So that kind of motivates big picture. So let's look at where we are with bioenergy. Again, this is from the IEA Key World Energy Statistics. I mean, you can see the total primary energy supply running for about the last 40 years, from 1971, almost 50 years, to 2016, with bioenergy showing in this green sort of area here. And right now, about 10% of the world's energy supply is coming from various types of bioenergy. So we're still dominated very much, as this slide shows, by coal, oil, natural gas. Although coal, it's interesting, and this is 2 years old, it's starting to climb. In the United States, it's declining quite rapidly. In China, it's declining a fair amount. Natural gas is taking up the slack, and oil is actually starting to arguably peak as well. So if we look at bioenergy within that context a little more carefully, there's a total of, I guess I'm talking in exajoules and million ton equivalent units typically for these global numbers, but 51 exajoules in 2015 of bioenergy. What you can see is that over half of that, shown in the dark blue, is traditional bioenergy. So that's fireplaces, that's cooking, over an inefficient flame. This is causing a lot of air pollution, causing a lot of health issues. It's an inefficient way to use bioenergy. But about half of it is this modern bioenergy. So this really represents a large opportunity to convert some of the traditional use to modern use. And you can see the uses are spanning, industrial and building heat, shown as a significant wedge here, in these areas, and then as well as electricity and transport. I just mentioned that we have lots of ways to generate electricity, but very few to generate biofuels and heat, although heat is increasingly also being supplied by electricity developed from wind and solar. So if you look at at sort of the growth of these three major categories of electricity, transport, and heat. Now we're exclusively talking about modern bioenergy here. Over approximately the last 10 years, with 2000 2008 being the reference of 100. You can see significant growth of transport and electricity over this time, but transport early in this time frame, growing at about the same rate of electricity, but in recent years falling off. And if you look closely, you can see what happened in 2014 when the price of oil dropped, by over half. We basically had a curtailment of the increase in transport. Now there has been ongoing a little bit of increase, because again, a couple years old, but these global statistics tend to lag a little bit. But nonetheless, you can see the hit that it did to transport with electricity continuing apace. This is looking at power, and this is the capacity addition. So this is new renewable energy power production capacity being installed worldwide. And although there's some variations, it shows the different colors are showing, the different areas, major areas of the world. You can see it's happening in all areas. But capacity expansion has been between 5 and 7 gigawatts per year over this time. You can see there's been a fair amount of fluctuation in Europe's level, but Europe is significant. North America, this has not been so active. Latin America has also seen significant growth, and China, especially recently, has grown very rapidly. If we look at the percent of bioenergy in that mix of power, well, it's been going up at a slow rate, as shown in the light green at the bottom here. It's being eclipsed by wind, especially wind, but increasingly solar as well. Such that and so that's the generation on the left-hand axis, but on the right is the percent share of bioenergy, and you can see it's falling. In the 2000 time frame, it was over 50%. Bioenergy was by far the biggest renewable energy, but with solar and wind coming on, it's less, and it's about 25% of the mix right now. If you look at biofuels in the same lens, first of all, it's dominated by production in the United States and Brazil, which are the first and second largest biofuel producers, respectively. But with significant contributions from Europe and the rest of the world, including China and India, are stepping up their biofuels production. And you can see the same sort of trend. It's flattening in recent years with the falling price of oil. And the biofuel share, it's been steadily increasing, but that rate of increase is slow. It's now somewhere in the 4 to 5% range of total fuels. This is the capacity addition, if you will, of production growth in those different fuels, with the green showing ethanol, the blue showing biodiesel. This is, again, information from the IEA, and I'll show this same information a little bit differently in the next slide. But you can see the United States really, during this period, increased ethanol production massively, and so was the largest contributor with 16 billion liters, I'm saying, about 4 billion gallons of new capacity. You can see biodiesel is more equally distributed, with the capacity addition similar roughly between the U.S., Latin America, U.S., and Asia. Brazil and Latin America being represented by Brazil is really dominating in that area. This shows data, the same sort of world outlook with a little bit larger time span. This is from BP. They published a statistical review of world energy, which is also a good source. And this is now a million-ton oil equivalent, or MTO, and spanning the last approximately decade. It's roughly the same data set, and you can see about over 80% or so, close to 80% of the fuels are made up by North America and South America. So it's the Americas that are producing biofuels. So Mexico is part of the Americas. Just come on board. We got the low carbon fuel standard in California. Canada's got one. We can bring it to Mexico. But anyway, part of this, it is interesting that liquid biofuels is so dominated right now in the Americas. The production from 2007 to 2017, as shown in these others. So on the left hand of each set would be what was in 2017, 2007, and then 2017. With the green showing ethanol and the sort of yellow and tan and sort of Colorado-ish orange, red color here, showing biodiesel. And you can see the same rough trend, dominant ethanol production increases in Central, North America and South America, and then biodiesel kind of spread more evenly, with actually quite a bit of production in Europe early in the period, but now more spread out around the world. Just looking at heat a little bit, I'm least familiar with this area, but the same thing is occurring in this. I discussed this briefly, but renewable heat, we're seeing about approaching 20 exajoules of renewable heat production. The biomass has been, really dominating modern bioenergy, but its share is going down also, and it's interesting to see that we're producing so much electricity. We're actually starting to use wind-based and solar-based, are actually eating into the share. So you see the growth is really in the wind area more than it is in the bioenergy area. And then if we look at where that heat's being used, the pulp and paper industry is the largest single user sort of sector, but agriculture would also be food is significant, and I think Brazilian sugarcane and the use of the gas for cogeneration, that would be in heat is a significant one. And then these other areas are smaller, and then all other industries together represent a significant share. The other area that I just touch on is wood pellets. And this is happening a lot in North America, especially where Canada and the U.S. are producing a significant amount of wood-based pellets and exporting to Europe, where there's a significant price on carbon mitigation and the prices of power are much higher. So you can see an increase from about 20 million tons to approaching 30 million tons per year of these pellets being produced. That's shown in the green from 2012 to 2016, and then the use of it really being split between buildings and industry, primarily for heating. Many of you may have heard about the billion-ton study in the United States, where we've done a study that says that we can have 1 billion tons, that's U.S. tons, of biomass available on a sustainable basis without competing for food or whatever. Right now, we've only got about 400 million tons. So to do that, we would have to get much more serious about growing a lot more plants on our landscape. And I think we should be trying to do that, but right now the economics, the policy isn't incenting that. But doing that sort of thing, these are routes, this bioenergy, carbon capture, and sequestration and use are really, ways to build up soil carbon, draw down atmospheric CO2 level, maybe just sequester or use some of that carbon. I guess if we put it in soil, we might be using it to grow plants, if you will. And then I've already talked about the concentrated CO2 off fermentation zones. But bioenergy really has some unique roles to play here. And there are some tests going on in this area, but it's still pretty early demonstration stage, and it's not free. So the policy has to be there to make it make sense. So talking about that policy, the policy is increasingly all about, assessed through a sustainability lens. So what is the, for example, the greenhouse gas emission reductions that a particular bioenergy pathway will afford. But the sustainability considerations are increasingly more complex than that. It's not just the greenhouse gas reductions. It's the water use, it's the water quality, it's the soil quality, it's the air quality, it's the biological diversity. Now, how do we assess all of that? Life cycle has been pretty good at doing the GHGs, but a lot of these other areas are very much emerging. And so that's why I say it's multifaceted, it's complex. It's really an evolving area. That's why a lot of researchers working in this area, it's not just applying LCA, but it's evolving LCA. It's really, getting better at understanding these aspects, as well as the the complexities on the social well-being. So, trade, how does it affect our relationship with other countries, as well as internally, our energy security, how are we doing on conserving our resources, or we, like the United States, we're exporting our biomass, should we be doing that? Is it socially acceptable? How do we quantify these? How do we agree as a society? This is a complex area that's very much, in development. And I want to acknowledge my colleague William Chum, who's very active in this area. I think she knows Julio and some of the others here from her work in that area, and she would have probably spent more time just talking about this topic if she was here. So I've got a few slides from her, and I just emphasize that we are learning this. It's an iterative process. So we're doing LCAs, but LCA can be a dangerous tool. I mean, if you pick the way you do it, you can almost get the answer you want, and that's been a problem. If you go in the literature, you can see wide variation in, like, is this carbon neutral or carbon generated and so forth. And so how do we reduce those controversies and get to agreement? There are ISO standards that have been promulgated, and they are being used. But in general, a lot of this, these companies do their LCAs, maybe they don't tell you some of their assumptions or what basis they're doing. So I just want to emphasize that when we're doing this attributional life cycle assessment, and so, just for those of you not familiar with it, we have a raw material. We had to produce that somehow. There's material and energy input going into that. As we gather that material, acquire it, well, there's going to be some waste, there's going to be some pollution from that. And then we've got to transport. Okay, we got it now, let's process it. Well, same thing, material and energy inputs, processing it, manufacturing it, using it, end of life. All of these have the same issues. And so we need to look at this, and we need to understand, well, what were the materials and energies that went into it? How do we do that? We go to databases. Well, are those databases accurate? What do we do to validate them? How current are they? Do they reflect current practices? So it really is essential. This is an area that Task 38 and Task 39 are collaborating in. Elaine and I are involved here in this, along with a number of others. Brazil is very involved too. We're leading the overall effort. But up-to-date life cycle inventory data is key. And for some of these inputs, we don't have good up-to-date data. It hasn't been validated. And it varies from place to place, depending on how it's doing. Are you mining it? Are you harvesting it? What kind of technologies? How efficient is your operation? If we're just looking at transport, how can we make it more efficient by co-optimizing those activities? And I won't belabor it, but an attractive combination, for example, is ethanol, higher blend of ethanol, in higher compression engines. So right now in the United States, we use lots of biofuel, but it's generally in a combustion engine optimized for gasoline and a lower compression ratio, so we're using biofuel inefficiently. If we were just using ethanol, a single molecule, it could be hydrous ethanol, we wouldn't have to remove the water, higher compression ratio, you get the same mileage in an optimized vehicle, optimized engine, out of a gallon of ethanol as you get out of a gallon of gasoline. But the ethanol's got a third less energy content, so you get a much higher efficiency. This is the kind of systems thinking that we need to apply. In terms of infrastructure, we've got a lot of existing infrastructure. The United States has 200 dry mills. Brazil has, I think, similar, 100 at least, sugarcane ethanol mills. We have tons of petroleum refineries. How can we exploit this existing resource? So one is this Ensign's pyrolysis and petroleum refining approach, where they use pyrolysis to make a so-called biocrude. It's basically an energy-dense liquid. There's a lot of stuff in there, but with proper and with some hydrogen needed, as Enrique will point out repeatedly. But we can take that and co-blend it and actually do that in a refinery. We don't need to build the processing facility to do that. So there's a lot of research going on there. This is one of these examples. Cellulosic ethanol. They're co-producing it in a lot of the dry mills in the United States. That'd be another example. Don't build brand new capital. Leverage the capital you have, incrementally invest in expanding that capital. Another area is the circular economy thinking, which is kind of slow to come to North America, but very much happening in South, especially in Europe, I guess, right now. Enerchem, another Canadian company, has an interesting gasification technology that's using municipal solid waste and other sort of low value waste that people get paid, that they're normally paying to dispose of these, so they're getting value for the feedstock, which is enabling the process to go forward. But they're using synthesis gas and then catalysis in this case to upgrade that to alcohol. Another company, Tech, is using synthesis gas and using biological fermentation. But there's a variety of ways of doing this, and thinking in the circular economy is something that's needed. If you look at IEA and their 2-degree scenario forecast, so this is the role that they call out for bioenergy. It plays a huge role in achieving these future scenarios when we're not, continuing to make this global warming problem worse. So you can see here bioenergy in 2015 versus their 2-degree scenario for 2060, and this is all bioenergy. And it will require, so this is traditional bioenergy, and you can see that is reduced, and these modern bioenergies for transport, for industry, for electricity, for heating, are all required, and it requires major capacity expansions across all of these sectors to do this. So our charge is out there if we want to be serious about achieving these kinds of things from your Secretary of Energy. But only about 2% is non-hydro. So there's a lot of opportunity for building, and you don't need to start from the beginning. You can take advantage of what's happened in the rest of the world. If you look at power, it's similar, where renewables are only supplying a small fraction of the total feedstock. And so again, a big opportunity for bioenergy. The Renewable Energy the International Renewable Energy Agency, ARENA, did a study in 2015 documenting the large and resource renewable energy base that Mexico has. And they posit that, with this conversion of traditional to modern bioenergy, you could double or triple the bioenergy consumption, the modern bioenergy consumption, and about double of what I've seen in the literature of the current level of bioenergy production is around 350 petajoules every week. But of course, realizing such a vision is going to take policy that really incent using bioenergy for heat power and applications across these different sectors. So my big conclusions: bioenergy will play a role, has a big role to play. Renewable plant biomass can be carbon neutral if done right. We can, of course, do it wrong. If we just go out and cut everything down and convert it, that's not the way to do it. Okay, so we got to do it right. But that's part of it. That's why we're all here studying this area, is to do it right. And that's what my life's dedicated to. And it can be net sequestering, and none of the other technologies really have that opportunity. Effective regulation and policy are key. The photosynthesis really, whether it's aquatic or terrestrial, this is our only way of getting renewable hydrocarbons. Many of these technologies are proven. I think we'll be hearing lots of talks about this today. I won't belittle it, but the economics are challenged by the low fossil energy prices and the policy, especially the valuation of sort of sustainability and getting that into the system. So my last thing is just, again, you can, for Mexico, fully leveraging what's going on. There's just a lot of work going on, and it's well documented within the IEA Bioenergy, within a lot of these other countries. We have the NAFTA, which is, getting renegotiated, and I've heard positive things. I don't have anything, clear that I can tell you right now, though, that the Department of Energy is being encouraged to incent North America research and development around some of these advanced technologies. So I could see, in the future, Canada, the U.S., and Mexico working together to bring forward and deploy some of these technologies, like I talked about, the co-processing, the methane upgrading, maybe transport fuels more broadly. And of course, Mexico will be tailoring them to Mexico's unique, biomass resources and its particular decarbonization objectives. So most of you seem to be awake, so thank you for your time. These are some sources. I'm sure you'll have a copy of them, so just links that are useful to get additional information. You can email me if there's problems with that. And I want to thank my colleagues at the U.S. Department of Energy, within Bioenergy, and within NREL for some of the slides, and just generally the work over the years. And I want to thank you for your attention, and if there's any time, I'll be happy to try to answer questions.
Thank you.